The morning of my wedding began with a silence so heavy, it felt like it was pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I was sitting in a small rented bridal room, just staring at my own reflection. I was trying to recognize the woman looking back at me. She was wearing a beautiful white dress, almost too beautiful for a life like mine. Her hands were trembling, not with excitement, but with a fear I couldn't quite name. My name is Anya. The man I was about to marry, Rohan Malhotra, was a kind, gentle person, a senior manager at a private firm. He wasn't rich or famous, but he loved me in a way I'd never known before. At least that's what I believed. Outside, I could hear the faint, happy sounds of wedding preparations, guests laughing, music playing softly. From the outside, everything was perfect. But inside me, something felt dangerously wrong. You see, 2 years ago, my life had been shattered. I grew up poor. My father, a tailor, passed away when I was 18, and my mother cleaned houses to keep us afloat. I studied hard, got a scholarship, and dreamed of a better life. That dream seemed to come true when I met Arav Singhania. He was a billionaire's son, rich beyond my wildest imagination. He swept into my life like a storm, charming, confident, and intense. He told me he loved my simplicity and my strength. Against everyone's warnings, I believed him. I loved him with everything I had. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought it would bring us closer. Instead, it destroyed me. Arav's family was cruel. His mother called me a gold digger, and his father said my child could never carry their name. And Arav, the man who promised me the world, just stood there silently while they tore my life apart. The worst day was when he looked me dead in the eye and said, in a voice I didn't recognize, that the baby wasn't his. That day, I lost my love, my dignity, and my future. I lost the baby a month later. After that, I just disappeared. Rohan found me when I was completely broken. He was patient. He never pushed me to talk about my past. Slowly with him, I learned how to breathe again. So when he proposed, I said yes. Not because my heart was healed, but because I desperately wanted peace. And today was supposed to be my new beginning. A knock on the door pulled me from my thoughts. It was my mother, her eyes shining with tears and pride. "Anya, are you ready?" she asked. I nodded, stood up, and we began walking toward the ceremony. I forced a smile. Guests turned to look. Some smiling, some whispering. I didn't care. I just wanted to reach Rohan. And then, I saw him. Standing near the entrance, dressed in an expensive black suit, surrounded by security. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. It couldn't be real. But it was. Arav Singhania. My heart stopped. He looked exactly the same, sharp eyes, a confident posture, a presence that commanded attention without any effort. As soon as he walked in, the conversations around him died down instantly. Everyone recognized him. Phones came out. Whispers spread like fire through the hall. "What is he doing here?" Someone murmured nearby. I wanted to run, but my legs were frozen to the spot. My breath became shallow as memories I had buried deep down started clawing their way back into my chest. My fiancé, Rohan, turned and followed my gaze. I felt his body stiffen beside me. "Do you know him?" he asked quietly, his voice laced with concern. But before I could even begin to answer, Arav started walking toward us. Every single step he took felt like a hammer hitting my heart, again and again. He stopped just a few feet away, his eyes locked on mine, completely ignoring everyone else in the room. "You look beautiful," he said. The gasps from our guests filled the air. My mother stepped forward, her face a mask of anger, but Arav just raised a hand, and his security guards gently stopped her. His eyes never left my face. "Anya," he continued, his voice calm but dangerously firm, "you cannot marry him." The world started to spin. Rohan moved in front of me protectively. "Who do you think you are?" "This is our wedding." Arav's lips curved into a faint, chilling smile. "I am the man she was supposed to marry." A deafening silence exploded around us. I finally found my voice, though it trembled. You lost that right a long time ago. Arav's eyes darkened. You left without telling me the truth. Rohan turned to me, confusion and hurt flashing across his face. What truth? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Arav then turned to address our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting. But this wedding is built on lies. Rohan grabbed my hand, his grip tight. Anya, what is he talking about? Before I could answer, Arav took out his phone and showed something to Rohan. I couldn't see the screen, but whatever was on it drained all the color from Rohan's face. What is this? Rohan whispered, his voice barely audible. Arav leaned closer. Ask your bride why she never told you about me. Ask her why she ran away carrying a secret that could destroy this entire ceremony. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. Rohan slowly turned to me, his eyes filled with disbelief. Anya, is there something you're hiding from me? Before I could explain, Arav spoke again, his voice cold and final. If this wedding continues, he declared, I will reveal everything, right here, right now. Rohan looked at the guests, at his parents, and then back at me. His hand slipped out of mine. I can't do this, he said, stepping back. My world collapsed. Rohan turned away from the altar, leaving me standing alone in my wedding dress, as Arav's eyes followed me with a look that promised this was only the beginning. In that moment, I realized my past hadn't just come to destroy my wedding. It had come to destroy me all over again. What do you think is the secret she's been hiding? Let me know your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching. Rohan's footsteps echoed louder than the wedding music ever had. Each step he took away from the altar felt like a knife cutting deeper into my chest. Guests stood frozen, their eyes moving between me and Arav, hungry for drama, for answers, for scandal. My mother rushed toward me, holding my arm as if I might collapse. Anya, say something, she whispered desperately. But my throat felt sealed shut. Rohan stopped at the edge of the venue. He didn't turn back. I need time, he said, his voice shaking. I can't marry someone who hid something this big from me. With that, he walked out. The wedding I had dreamed of my entire life was over in less than a minute. I stood there, a bride with no groom, as the whispers exploded around me. Some guests looked sympathetic. Others looked satisfied, as if they had come only for this moment. Arav turned to face me fully now. We need to talk, he said calmly, as if he hadn't just destroyed my world. I finally found my voice. You had no right to come here. Arav's eyes hardened. You had no right to disappear. I laughed bitterly. Disappear? You threw me out. Your family destroyed me. You said the child wasn't yours. His jaw tightened. You left before I could fix anything. Fix? I snapped. I lost my baby, Arav. I lost everything. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes, regret, maybe guilt. But it vanished as quickly as it came. Not everything, he said. You still have me. Those words made my blood boil. I don't want you, I said, loudly enough for everyone to hear. I chose Rohan. You took that choice away from me. Arav leaned closer. No, I stopped you from making a mistake. My mother stepped between us. Get away from my daughter, she said fiercely. You've done enough. He looked at her respectfully. Auntie, I understand your anger. But the truth always comes back. Today was inevitable. A few minutes later, I was sitting alone in a small room. My bridal jewelry felt heavy, like chains. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages, but I ignored them all. The door opened quietly. Arav walked in. I stood up instantly. Get out. He closed the door. We need to finish this conversation. There is nothing to finish, I said. You got what you wanted. You humiliated me. Now leave. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. I didn't come here to humiliate you. Then why did you come? I demanded. He hesitated. Because I found out the truth. My heart skipped a beat. What truth? Arav took a deep breath. The baby, it was mine. The room spun. You already said that once. It's too late. No, he said firmly. I didn't know then. My mother, she lied to me. She manipulated the medical reports. I only found out months later. Tears burned my eyes. You expect me to believe this now, after 2 years? I have proof, he said quietly. I shook my head. Even if it's true, it changes nothing. The baby is gone. I moved on. His voice softened. You moved on with a lie between us. Before I could respond, the door opened again. Rohan stood there. His eyes were red, his face pale. He had clearly heard everything. So it's true, he said slowly. You were pregnant with his child. I turned toward him. Rohan, please let me explain. He raised his hand. Why didn't you tell me? Tears finally spilled down my face. Because I was ashamed. Because I thought my past would destroy my future. Rohan laughed bitterly. And yet, here he is. A billionaire walking into my wedding and taking my bride without even trying. He stepped forward, his voice a low growl. She is not your bride. Rohan spun around, his face a mask of fury. Stay out of this. But Arav didn't back down. I can't. She is still my responsibility. Hearing those words, I felt chains tightening around me, suffocating me. I don't belong to either of you. I finally managed to say, my voice cracking under the strain. I'm not some prize you can fight over. Rohan's gaze met mine, and I saw a storm of pain and love in his eyes. I loved you, Anya, I truly did. But I don't know if I can live with this shadow between us. He turned and walked away, his steps heavy, as if he was hoping I'd call him back. I couldn't. The door clicked shut, leaving me alone in the suffocating silence with the man who had destroyed my life once and now impossibly claimed he wanted it back. Arav moved closer, his presence filling the room. Come with me, he said, his voice softer now. Let me make things right. I wiped the angry tears from my face and looked him straight in the eye. You already destroyed my wedding. Don't think for a second you own my future. A faint, chilling smile played on his lips. You say that now. But the truth has only just begun to unravel. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a thin folder and placing it on the table between us. My hand trembled as I reached for it. What's that? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Evidence, he replied coolly, about your past. About my family. And about something you don't even know you've been missing. My heart hammered against my ribs. Just as my fingers brushed against the smooth surface of the folder, Arav delivered the final blow, words that turned my blood to ice. There is something else they took from you, Anya, something far more valuable than your dignity. I froze, my hand hovering over the folder. What are you talking about? I whispered, dread coiling in my stomach. Arav's eyes, dark and intense, locked onto mine, holding me captive. They lied to you, he said, his voice a blade cutting through the silence. Your baby didn't die. The world around me shattered. Everything I thought I knew, every pain I had carried, every tear I had shed, it was all built on a lie. Time stopped. The air grew thin. In that deafening silence, a new, terrifying reality began to dawn. My baby was alive. Somewhere out there, my child was alive. And this man, my tormentor, was the only one who held the key. The story doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. My hands started shaking so badly that the file slipped from my fingers and fell to the floor. What did you just say? I whispered, barely able to hear my own voice. Arav bent down, picked up the folder, and placed it back on the table carefully as if it contained glass. I said your baby didn't die. I just shook my head over and over. That's impossible. I saw the reports. I signed the papers. I cried over that loss every single day for years. And that's exactly why they chose you, Arav said quietly. Because you trusted them. Because you were completely alone. My legs gave out beneath me. I collapsed onto the chair, my heavy bridal dress spreading around me like some sort of cruel joke. "Stop lying," I said, my voice trembling. "If this is another one of your sick games, I swear, it's not a game," he cut in sharply, his voice firm. "I would never, ever joke about this." He opened the file and slid the first document toward me. "These are the original hospital records. Not the ones my mother showed you. These are the real ones." I stared down at the papers, the words blurring through my tears. There were dates, signatures, and medical terms I barely understood. "Your baby was born premature," Arav continued, his voice softer now. "Very weak, but alive. They moved the baby to a private neonatal facility that very same night." My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst from my chest. But why? Why would anyone do that? Why hide it from me? Arav's jaw tightened, his eyes filled with a dark anger. "Because my family believed you would use the child to control me. They wanted to erase every single connection between us." I felt sick to my stomach. "So you're telling me," I said slowly, trying to process the horror of it, "that while I was crying alone in that hospital room, my baby was alive somewhere else?" "Yes," he replied, the word hanging in the air between us. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. "Then where is my child now?" For the first time since he had entered the room, Arav looked away. He hesitated. "That," he said after a long, painful pause, "is what I'm still trying to find out." The room felt like it was closing in on me. I pressed my hands against my chest, struggling to breathe. "You mean you don't know?" My hands started shaking so badly that the file slipped from my fingers and fell to the floor. "What did you just say?" I whispered, barely able to hear my own voice. Arav bent down, picked up the folder, and placed it back on the table carefully, as if it contained glass. "I said your baby didn't die." I shook my head again and again. "That's impossible. I saw the reports. I signed the papers. I cried over that loss every single day. And that's exactly why they chose you," Arav said quietly. "Because you trusted them. Because you were alone." My legs gave up. I sat down heavily on the chair, my bridal dress spreading around me like a cruel joke. "Stop lying," I said. "If this is another one of your games, I swear." "It's not a game," he cut in sharply. "I wouldn't dare joke about this." He opened the file and slid the first document toward me. "These are the original hospital records, not the ones my mother showed you. The real ones." I stared at the papers, the words blurring through my tears. Dates, signatures, medical terms I barely understood. "Your baby was born premature," Arav continued, his voice steady. "Very weak but alive. They moved the baby to a private neonatal facility the same night." My heart pounded violently against my ribs. It was so loud, I was sure he could hear it. Why would anyone do that? Why hide it from me? Arav's jaw tightened. "Because my family believed you would use the child to control me. They wanted to erase every connection between us." I felt sick, a wave of nausea washing over me. "You're saying," I said slowly, forcing the words out, "that while I was crying alone in that hospital room, my baby was alive somewhere else?" "Yes," he replied, his gaze unwavering. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. The sobs I'd held back for so long now escaped. "Then where is my child now?" Arav looked away for the first time since entering the room, his shoulders slumping just a bit. "That," he said after a long, heavy pause, "is what I'm still trying to find out." The room felt like it was closing in on me. The air grew thick and I couldn't seem to get enough of it. I pressed my hands against my chest, trying to force myself to breathe. "You mean, you don't know?" The question was a faint, desperate whisper, lost in the crushing silence that followed. The hope that had just flared within me was now flickering, threatened by a new, terrifying darkness. What happens next? Find out in the next episode. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe. The air in the room felt poisoned after Arav's mother spoke those words. Prepare for war. I never imagined my life would come down to a choice between two nightmares. On one side stood a powerful family that had already destroyed me once. On the other, the man who claimed to love me, but whose silence had already cost me my child. Arav tightened his grip on my hand. I could feel the controlled, dangerous anger in him. "You're not touching her," he said again, his voice steady but cold. His mother, Mira Singhania, just smiled, as if amused by a child's tantrum. "You forget who taught you power, Arav," she replied. "Everything you have is because of this family. And everything I lost," he shot back, "is because of you." Her eyes flicked to me, sharp and assessing, like I was an object being inspected. "You've always been dramatic, Anya. Even now you're playing the broken mother card." Something snapped inside me. "My child," I said, my voice trembling but loud, "is not a card. If you know where my baby is, you will tell me." She walked closer, her expensive perfume suffocating me. "You should be grateful," she said softly. "That child was never meant to be yours." I slapped her. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. My hand burned, but my heart felt strangely calm. Arav stared at me in shock. Mira slowly turned her face back, her cheek red, her eyes dark with fury. "You just signed your death warrant," she said quietly. Arav instantly stepped between us. "Touch her and I swear." "You'll do what?" she interrupted. "Leave? You came crawling back last time, and you'll do it again." She laughed bitterly. "Take her, let her play detective. She won't last a week." With that, she turned and walked out, her heels clicking against the floor like a countdown. The moment she left, my legs gave out. Arav caught me. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I shouldn't have." "No," he said firmly. "You did what I should have done years ago. But you need to understand something now. From this moment on, you are not safe." Fear wrapped around my chest. "What do we do?" "We disappear," he said. Within hours, my life was packed into 2 small suitcases. No goodbyes, no announcements. A private car took us out of the city before dawn. As the city lights faded behind us, reality finally sank in. "I trusted you once," I said softly, staring out the window. "And I paid for it with my child." "I know," he replied. "That's why this time, I won't fail you." We finally reached a secluded farmhouse, tucked away on the outskirts of another city. It was simple, a world away from the glittering Singhania Empire. For the first time in what felt like forever, the silence was real, comforting, not threatening. The next morning, Arav arrived with everything we needed: files, laptops, a network of contacts. The hunt had officially begun. He spread photos across the table: hospital staff, people from adoption agencies, heads of shell charities his family had funded for years. "My mother specializes in legal disappearances," he explained, his voice low. "Children are placed through private networks. It's clean, completely untouchable." Our days bled into sleepless nights. Every document I touched felt like a paper cut to my soul. Every photo of a smiling child sent a fresh wave of pain through my chest. What if my baby hates me? I asked one night, my voice cracking under the weight of it all. What if they think I just abandoned them? Arav looked at me, his gaze steady and quiet. "Then we'll prove you didn't," he promised. One evening, his phone buzzed, pulling him away. He stepped outside to take the call, and I watched through the glass door as his entire posture shifted, tensing up. When he walked back in, his face was pale, all the color drained from it. "We found something," he said. My heart slammed against my ribs. "What? What is it?" "A lead," he said, his words measured. "A child adopted unofficially 2 years ago. There's no name on the record. They were raised abroad for the first year, but they've recently been brought back." My hands started to shake uncontrollably. Where are they?" "Delhi," he replied. "With a family connected to one of our trusts." Hope and terror crashed together inside me, a dizzying, overwhelming mix. "When do we go?" "Tomorrow," he said, then paused. "But there's a problem," I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. "What problem?" "They know you're coming. Before I could even process what that meant, the lights in the farmhouse flickered and died, plunging us into absolute darkness. Outside, I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. Arav moved instantly, pulling me behind him protectively. "Stay quiet," he whispered, his voice a tense command. Heavy, purposeful footsteps crunched their way toward the door. Then, a voice called out from the darkness, cold and sharp. "Mrs. Singhania sends her regards." My heart stopped. The door handle began to turn. And in that chilling moment, I realized that finding my child might just cost me my life. The door creaked open slowly, the sound slicing through the darkness like a warning. I held my breath, my fingers digging into Arav's arm as shadows filled the doorway. Two men stepped inside, dressed in all black, their faces cold and completely unreadable. Behind them stood another figure, taller, calmer, as if he owned the night itself. "Relax," the man said softly, his voice echoing in the small room. "If we wanted you dead, this place would already be on fire." Arav's body was tense beside me, ready to strike. "You shouldn't be here." The man just smiled faintly. "Your mother disagrees." My stomach twisted into a knot. "Where is my child?" I demanded, surprising even myself with the sudden strength in my voice. The man turned his gaze to me, studying my face for a long moment. Straight to the point. "I respect that. Answer me," I said, my voice starting to shake. "Please." He took a step forward, the floorboards groaning under his weight. "Your child is alive, healthy, loved." Tears rushed to my eyes, hot and fast. "Then, why are you doing this to me? Why put me through this?" "Because," he replied calmly, as if discussing the weather, "some truths ruin very powerful people." Arav moved in front of me, a human shield. "You will not threaten her." The man raised his hand slightly, a gesture of peace that felt anything but peaceful. "This isn't a threat. It's an offer." "An offer?" "An offer." I repeated bitterly. "Yes," he said. "Walk away. Forget the child. You'll be compensated generously. A new identity, a comfortable life, complete protection." My heart pounded against my ribs like a trapped bird. "You're asking a mother to forget her child." "I'm asking you to survive," he corrected gently. Arav laughed, a dark, humorless sound. "She won't accept." The man nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. "Then you leave us no choice." Before either of us could react, one of the men behind him pulled out a phone and played a video. I gasped. On the screen was a small child, maybe 2 years old, sitting on a colorful carpet, holding a little toy car. Dark eyes, my eyes. The child laughed softly at someone behind the camera. My knees buckled, and Arav caught me. "That's my baby," I sobbed, the sound tearing from my throat. "That's my child." The man lowered the phone, the image vanishing. "Say goodbye." "Stop," I screamed. "Don't take that away from me." He tilted his head, considering me. "Choose wisely." The man backed away toward the door, melting back into the shadows. "You have 48 hours, he said, his voice a final, chilling whisper. "After that, this trail disappears forever." They vanished into the night, leaving only silence and a suffocating terror behind. When the lights flickered back on, their ordinary glow felt like a cruel joke. I collapsed onto the floor, the sobs racking my body. Arav knelt beside me, pulling me into his arms as I trembled uncontrollably. "They showed me my baby," I cried out, the words tearing from my throat. "How could they do that?" Arav's voice was raw, hoarse with anger. "They want to break you." I could only whisper back, "They already have." That night, sleep was a stranger. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that small, perfect face, heard that innocent laugh from the video. My child was real, alive, so close I could almost feel their warmth, yet impossibly far away. The next morning, Arav made a call. His voice was grim. "I need everything," he said into the phone. "No limits." He hung up and faced me, his jaw set. "We're going to Delhi. You said it was dangerous," I reminded him, my voice barely a whisper. "It is," he replied, his eyes meeting mine. But waiting is worse. Our journey was a blur of back roads and hushed anxiety. We changed cars twice, every shadow a threat, every stranger's glance a potential danger. My heart pounded with a rhythm of constant fear. In Delhi, Arif led me to a modest, hidden apartment. "You stay here," he commanded gently. "I'll go alone." "No," I said, a new strength hardening my voice. "I'm done hiding." He hesitated, searching my face, then gave a single reluctant nod. "Then you listen to everything I say." No risks. That evening, we stood across from an elegant, brightly lit house. Life was happening inside. Curtains moved, laughter seemed to float on the air. "My child is in there," I whispered, a painful certainty gripping my heart. "Yes," Arif confirmed. "With a couple who believe they legally adopted a baby. They don't know?" I asked, bewildered. "They were told the mother abandoned the child," he explained, "that she signed away all rights." My chest tightened. "I never did that." "I know." Just then, a woman stepped into the garden, cradling the same child from the video. She kissed the baby's forehead, her face alight with pure love. A storm of jealousy, grief, and guilt tore through me. "She loves my baby," I choked out. "Yes," Arif said softly. "And that's what makes this so complicated." Before we could form a plan, a car screeched to a halt behind us. "Too close," Arif swore under his breath. "We've been followed." The car door opened, and Meera Singhania stepped out, her elegance a terrifying mask. "I warned you," she said, her voice calm and chilling. "You never listen." Her cold eyes fixed on me. "Did you enjoy seeing your child?" I lunged toward her, a primal scream building in my chest. "Give my baby back." She didn't even flinch. "That child has a better life than you could ever give. You stole my child." I screamed, tears blinding me. She leaned in, her voice a venomous whisper. "I saved that child from you." Arif stepped between us. "This ends now." Meera just smiled, a cruel, knowing expression. "No, Arif, this ends when she makes her choice." She turned her full attention back to me. "Walk away, and the child lives happily. Fight me, and you will never see that child again." The world tilted on its axis. My baby's life versus my truth, my fight. It was then I understood. This was never just about power or money. It was about how much pain a mother could endure for her child. And I had no idea if my heart could survive what came next. The night felt heavier than any I had ever known. Meera Singhania stood before me like a final verdict, calm, composed, certain she owned the ending of my story. The street was quiet, but inside me, a storm was tearing everything apart. "Choose," she said again, her voice smooth and merciless. "Walk away or lose your child forever." My legs felt weak, but I didn't fall. Somewhere deep inside, something stronger than fear began to rise. I looked past her, toward the house. Through the window, I saw my child. Sitting on the floor, playing, safe, innocent, unaware that their life was being used as a weapon against their own mother. I turned back to Meera. "You think you saved my child," I said slowly, my voice finding a new strength. "But all you did was steal a mother's heartbeat." Her perfect smile faded slightly. Just then, Arif stepped beside me, his presence a solid anchor in the chaos. "This ends tonight," he said firmly. "I've already sent everything to my lawyers, the hospital records, the altered reports, the money trail. If anything happens to her, it all goes public." Meera laughed, a soft, dismissive sound. "You think a few documents scare me?" "No," Arif replied, his gaze unwavering. "But prison should." For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not fear, but cold calculation. "You destroy your own family name?" She challenged him. "You already did," he answered without hesitation. She turned to me one last time, her voice dripping with venom. "If you go through with this," she said coldly, "your child will grow up hating you. The world will tear you apart. Are you ready for that?" I took a step forward. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I already lost everything once, I said, the words coming from a place I didn't know I had. You don't scare me anymore. Mira stared at me for a long moment, the silence stretching between us. Then she took a slow step back. You've changed, she whispered, almost to herself. Yes, I replied, the truth of it settling deep in my bones. I became a mother. Suddenly the wail of sirens broke the silence. Red and blue lights flooded the street, painting everything in stark flashing colors. Mira's head snapped toward the sound. Her perfect control finally cracked. Araf's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and let out a long, slow breath. It's done. Police cars surrounded the house. Officers moved quickly, efficiently. Mira tried to step back, but 2 officers blocked her path. Mira Singhania, one of them said, their voice official and final, you're under arrest for fraud, illegal adoption, evidence tampering, and conspiracy. Her reign was over. And my new beginning was just about to start. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more. She turned to Araf, her eyes burning with a cold fire. You chose her over blood. He didn't even flinch, meeting her gaze head on. I chose what was right. As the officers led her away, she gave me one last look. It wasn't filled with hatred, but with the crushing weight of defeat. Inside the house, chaos erupted. The couple who thought they were adopting my baby stood in frozen shock as the officers explained the web of lies they'd been caught in. The woman clutched my child, tears streaming down her face, repeating over and over, I didn't know. They told us the mother abandoned the baby. I walked towards her slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. My voice was gentle but firm. I never abandoned my child. I was lied to. Just like you. She looked up, her eyes searching my face for the truth. Then, slowly she loosened her grip. The moment my baby was placed back in my arms, the world finally stopped its violent spinning. So small, so warm, so real. My child looked up at me with wide, dark eyes, and in that instant, every wound I had ever carried cracked open and began to heal. I cried, not politely. I cried like a mother who had just been given her entire life back. The legal battle that followed was grueling, lasting for months. The media had a field day, digging up my past, twisting the narrative. People judged, they whispered, they pointed fingers. But the truth, I learned, is a force of nature. It stands stronger than any lie. Rohan reached out once, his voice quiet on the phone. I'm glad you found your child, he said. I hope you find peace too. I wished him well and hung up. Some chapters are never meant to be reopened. Araf stayed by my side through it all. Not as a savior, but as a man trying to make amends for the past. One evening, as I watched my child sleeping, he spoke softly, You don't owe me anything. I looked at him and said, I know. And if you choose a life without me, he continued, I'll accept it. A small smile touched my lips. This time my choices are truly mine. Years later, people still talk about the scandal, about a powerful family that crumbled under the weight of its own secrets. But that's not the story I tell my child. I tell them that love isn't proven by control, but by sacrifice. That truth can hurt, but lies will always destroy. And that no matter how powerful the world seems, a mother's love is always more powerful. As I closed the door to my child's room each night, I realized something quietly beautiful. I'm no longer the woman who was abandoned at the altar. I'm the woman who survived betrayal, faced down monsters, and walked away with the only thing that ever truly mattered. My child. And for the first time in my life, I know this ending is finally mine.